Hey, we're here at the Garden, and we're kind of excited. It's a big day. There's nobody here yet, but we're here, and we're setting up. We are preparing to rock. I'll see you on the road. Check it out.
What's going on, vinyl community? Welcome to another video with the Record Spinner. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing one of the latest installments of Dream Theater's Lost Not Forgotten Archive series, and that is the Live at Madison Square Garden 2010 release. This is a series that I've been following for some time since it started back in 2021, and this release in particular has a special place in my heart because this very show was one that I was very lucky to attend, and now I have a long-lasting momentum to remember the show by. There's a lot to discuss, so enough of the chit chat. Let's jump into what this video is all about. While live albums can capture an artist's magic on stage in a live setting, they also serve as the ultimate souvenir for those who were lucky to catch a particular show during a tour, and the same can be said when it comes to bootleg recordings, but that's simply the easy way out. What stands true is an official release overseen by the artist and their respective label. Now, I had covered this concept in a video that I did some time ago on the channel called Live Albums from Tours That I Saw. If you want to peel back and check out that video for yourself, please go ahead and do so. Now, when I was combing through my collection to showcase specific albums for that video, it was plain to say that there wasn't a record that I had of a show that I attended, but I always thought, wouldn't it be cool to have something like that? And sure enough, that time has now come. To provide a bit of context, I was in middle school during the tail end of the 2000s, and Dream Theater was one of the bands that I was listening to almost religiously at that point. And of course, this is thanks to my dad, who had become a fan of them as far back as the 90s when they started to break out with albums like Images and Words and such. Now, say what you want about Dream Theater, but literally every guy in that band is a master at their instrument and abilities, and it is the perfect merge of progressive rock and metal, which is why they are often dubbed the godfathers of progressive metal. Now, back when I was in elementary school, my dad and I would listen to albums such as Train of Thought, as well as Systematic Chaos. But 2009 was where my fandom really hit. I remember getting a CD copy of Scenes from Memory that I played to death, and they had just released the album, isn't quite exactly the cover, but this is the box set, of Black Clouds and Silver Linings that summer. And that immediately just became my soundtrack for the summer of 2009, and it got to the point where I was listening to their stuff almost daily. I had a Scenes from a Memory t-shirt that I wore basically once a week. I was downloading all the old fan club CD releases. I was collecting the Yet Say Jam Records releases. I just went in full throttle and was very much what you could call a fanboy. Now, the icing on the cake would have been to have seen them live, and sure, there were a few missed opportunities around that time frame, but sure enough, it ultimately happened. In the summer of 2010, Dream Theater served as an opening act for Iron Maiden during their Final Frontier tour, which was bound to come out that summer. Now, at the time, I was probably a casual Maiden fan. That would change a year later when I became fully engrossed in their catalog, but I was mainly interested in seeing Dream Theater. Now, I usually decamp to Philadelphia for shows since that's the closest city to me, but this time around, there was no Philly date. It was either Homedale, New Jersey at the PNC Bank Center, which is further up north, or Madison Square Garden in New York City. Now, given that New York is Dream Theater's hometown, and they did play once at the theater within the Garden back in 2004, this was going to be the band's first appearance at the legendary venue, so it seemed a bit more poignant to attend this show, and sure enough, I was able to. I still remember the date to this day. It was July 12th, 2010, coincidentally guitarist John Petrucci's birthday, and my father and I decided to make this a day venture, so we literally drove up to Trenton, took the New Jersey Transit train to Penn Station, and this was my first time ever visiting New York City, so literally upon going up the escalators at the train station, there I was at street level in New York City, which was quite a thrill. We spent the day sightseeing around the area. You can see with the photos that were taken that day. Note the Scenes from a Memory shirt that I had mentioned prior. Then came showtime, and Dream Theater went on first, and I was completely in my glory, seated off stage right within the second level of the Garden. The set list consisted of As I Am, Rite of Passage, Home, Constant Motion, Panic Attack, and Pull Me Under, which was a solid set of some of the band's notable recent material with a couple of old favorites sprinkled in. Then Iron Maiden took the stage and did a set primarily of material from 2000's Brave New World to the present, so it was kind of a surprise for me wanting to hear Run to the Hills and The Trooper, but like I said, this was a year before I became a massive Maiden fan, so I can appreciate it later on in retrospect. Slightly off topic, but one of the things that I remember from this show was how smoky the Garden was, and it had a particular aroma to it, which I thought was the smell of the smoke coming from the stage. So much for naivety. Sometime after the show it took place, drummer Mike Portnoy had done an interview where something was stated about the Madison Square Garden show being recorded for release, which does make sense given the milestone it was/is in the band's career. Given it was an opening slot, it very well could have been a release for the Yet Say Jam Records official bootleg label, or maybe as an add-on with the next album. And then everything kind of came to a grinding halt when in September that same year, Mike had announced that he was leaving the band. And while this was definitely a shocking blow, given that he was with them for 25 years as a founding member and primary songwriter, outside of those roles, he was very much the band's own audio and visual archivist, having run the Yet Say Jam Records labels, which basically ceased to exist at that point. He had compiled all the fan club CDs and other related activities, so outside of being a member of the band, his absence was certainly felt. Flash forward to 2021, Dream Theater is signed to Inside Out Music, and it was announced that they will be launching a line of releases dubbed the Lost Not Forgotten Archives, which is an official bootleg series that doesn't necessarily fit in line with their regular streamliner releases, but it serves as a means to re-release all the Yet Say Jam Records releases as well as new material. Now, the turnaround for these releases has been quite frequent and rapid, so there is a good hunk of my Dream Theater vinyl collection that consists of these releases, and they range from demos to live shows. And as a pleasant surprise, they had announced this Live at Madison Square Garden release, which of course got me excited because this is the first instance, like I said, where I own an official release that isn't a bootleg of a show that I was at. And upon doing some further investigation, Mike Portnoy had actually commented that this is the first of several releases that he will be contributing to the series, so that is quite exciting indeed. So as you can see here on the cover, it covers the same pattern that we have seen on all the other releases in this series, with a sort of kaleidoscopic photo rendering, obviously with this one being the New York City skyline, if you can kind of make that out. I'll give you guys a good close-up of that. Plain basic back cover with the track list, and the gatefold jacket has credits as well as photos taken from the show, along with a shot of the band as they were taking their bow, along with a digital marquee, as well as a ticket stub. Pressed on nice heavyweight vinyl, polyline sleeves, with the Lost Not Forgotten logo featured on this side, as well as the track list for the respective sides on the opposite. Now, as for what I think sound quality-wise of this release, this is straight from the soundboard with very minimal audience pickup from the mics, so it does stand out like a true soundboard bootleg recording. And it's funny because all that I had prior to this release were whatever audience videos that were uploaded to YouTube, as well as an audience recording bootleg that I had downloaded a while back. And you get so accustomed to those roomy recordings, and then hearing it in crystal clear quality is quite the revelation. The performance is tight from the band, and Mike Portnoy in particular is super animated, shouting out random exclaims into his mic given the excitement from this show. I will say there is a little bit of editing with this release, with some of the James LaBrie stage raps being kind of edited out and chopped up, but it doesn't really take away too much from the enjoyment of the release. This is a solid entry in the Lost Not Forgotten Archive series, and one that holds some special value for the band since it is a landmark venue in their hometown, and for a fan like myself, it's special because I was there. Now, I should mention, I have been getting these Lost Not Forgotten Archives releases as they have been coming out. I just haven't really showcased them lately in my monthly vinyl haul videos because I plan on doing a big, massive video showcasing the entire series, reviewing it, explaining the backstory behind the origins, Yet Say Jam Records, and much more, and that'll probably be at a time when the series kind of wraps up, and at this point, God knows when that'll happen because they just keep pumping out releases, so keep your eyes peeled for that. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video, and most importantly, keep the records spinning.
Madison Square Garden. 20